Okay, here's a question for you. Disney parks before or after your Disney cruise? We prefer going after, and this is why.
So we have 5 points for you guys to share why we like doing the parks after, and a few little tips in there as well.
And we just want to preface something. This is our opinion. There really isn't a right or wrong way to do this. This certain itinerary and time frame worked perfectly for us to go to Disney World afterwards. And these are just some reasons why we liked it and why we would continue doing it. However, there might be times we may do it before, because it's probably going to work better for the itinerary. So we just want to let you guys know, there really is no right or wrong, but you asked us this question, and these are the reasons why.
All right, so the first one is kind of applicable to me, so I'm going to speak to it, but we like doing the cruise before the parks because it lowers the chance of a thing called Disembarkation Syndrome, which I got twice now after going on a cruise. We did a Disney cruise and then flying straight out that day. Something just does not do well with me with being on the water and then going in the air and then coming to land. I get really bad vertigo. I feel like I'm on a ship for the next, I think I had it for almost a month after one of them, and it was really stressful.
I mean, you had to go to the doctor and get medicine.
I had to go to like a ears, nose, and throat specialist to just get my equilibrium all balanced out again. So something about just going from like ship to, being on the ocean just to land and not flying right away, I do so much better. So that worked out really well because this time around I didn't have any problem with it. We got off the ship. We were on land.
You had a little bit.
The first day I was like a little bit, but it wasn't bad at all. And then, I was good by the time we were ready to fly. So that is really huge for me. I don't know if that's something you guys have ever struggled with, but it makes a difference, a huge thing for me because I never wanted to experience that again.
To the point where she was like, I don't know if I want to cruise again.
Yeah, it was so bad. Yeah.
Number 2, we rather have checked out than disembark. And what I mean by that is when you disembark on the Disney cruise, it's usually super early. But when you check out of a resort or a hotel, you usually have until around 11 or so. And so you have more time, more wiggle room maybe to find flights. You can leave either super early or maybe a little bit later in the day. But we're going to talk a little bit more about this.
So for us, we live in Idaho, and so we have to work around the flights for that. And it usually worked out. They were always just towards the evening. And when you disembark the ship, it's like there's nowhere to hang out. They're like, you're gone. Goodbye. We have to get ready for everybody else coming back on board. So you get off early. So we were always in this like limbo stage where we're like, do we want to get a hotel for a day? Which we did that one time just to hang out and have somewhere to put our luggage. But then we have to go back to the airport. But then there's been times where we get to the airport and you have to wait for hours. And if you have kids, it's just like, come on, we just want to get home.
And Lacey was saying, there's a lot of different areas you can store luggage. Like there's different apps and stuff you can find. But for young kids, they're not ready to just go on an adventure after we disembark the ship. They're ready to either chill out for a little bit in a hotel or somewhere, but just kind of wandering around the city is just not in the cards for our season. And you can get a hotel for just the night and leave the next morning, but for us, again, with kids and all of our luggage, it's just easier for us to get right to the airport and not have to bring our luggage to a hotel or to a place to store them and take our luggage to an Uber or transportation to the airport. You know what I mean? It's just we can it's a lot. So if we're going to get a hotel, might as well extend that for several more days and actually enjoy the parks, hence why we like to go after. So the main argument, and if there really is an argument with this, because again, this is just our opinion and there's no right or wrong answer because we'll probably end up doing both. But the main thing is the reasons why people choose to do the Disney cruise after the parks is because it's more relaxing. And so our question to that is, well, yes, but maybe no, because how do you relax? Because everyone relaxes a little bit differently.
So something to think about with Disney Cruise, and this can go both ways with the parks as well, but there is a schedule of things. There's your dinner time, there's your times for shows, and you can do as much as you want, and you can do as little as you want. And I'd say the same for the parks with things. There's times for everything. But the thing about the cruise is we love going to the dinners. We love going to the shows. So we always try to make sure our schedule matches up with everything that's going on around those times. And with the parks, we feel like there's a little bit more wiggle room. So for me, with how I relax, I like to be by the pool. And I can do that on the Disney cruise too. It's just one of my ways I just relax, unwind. And we really love doing like resort days when we stay at the parks and just having a time designated to just enjoying our resort. And one of those big parts of a resort is the pool. And I love just relaxing by the pool, bringing a book. It's just one of my favorite ways to unwind.
Yeah, and like Lacey was saying, with like Disney cruise, you're kind of on a schedule, and you don't have to go to the dinners, the rotational dinners. You can go somewhere else. But again, my opinion is like, if you're gonna pay to go on a Disney cruise, you want to go to those dinners.
Yeah.
Right. And so sometimes you may be in that whole relaxing zone, but then you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta get ready for dinner.
Right. We gotta get ready for the show. Yeah.
And at the parks, it's like, maybe you have dinner reservations, but like what we did this last time, we're like, let's just cancel it and let's just get something a little bit later for the day, or let's just get some quick service or something like that. So you almost have just more options if you end up canceling it, because you're just kind of in that zone of relaxing. So for me, I don't relax probably like most people, and there's probably some of you who are the same, but relaxing for me doesn't look like sitting down or reading a book. It's me's running and gunning. Like, it's just, I love walking around, exploring, seeing new different things, taking pictures. And so how Justin relaxes is most likely in the park, just running around. Like, you'll just see me running around, and that's relaxing for me.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, we relax.
We do. I was gonna say, we love. That's why we cruise. We love the cruise.
But the thing is, I think we relax the same, either at Walt Disney World or the cruise.
Yeah.
And the whole like hectic hustle and bustle that the parks can be, I don't really mind that. It doesn't really bother me. I can say that the ship on the pool deck is hectic and hustle and bustle, unless you're in the adults area, but you don't find us in the adults area very often with our season with the kids.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, it's just, again, it's like, how do you relax? So if you're sitting down and you're kind of figuring out what you want to do, if you want to go before or go after your cruise, maybe just kind of sit down with your party, with your family, and ask those questions. Well, how do you relax? And maybe you're going to kind of figure out, actually, we may relax more in the park than we would on the cruise. Or like us, it really doesn't matter because we kind of relax the same, kind of a thing.
And I think a big part of it too with the parks is, face it, you're waiting in lines, you're with a lot of crowds, there's just, you're not getting waited on hand and foot like they are on the cruise, you're standing in line for your food. So there is that to it, but we've really built in a time where we talked about previously as a resort day, where we just have a day where we don't feel like we have to go to the parks. We just like to
There's that, but we also always go back
during the day
midday too. So we go in the morning or something like that, and then we go back for a few hours by the pool,
take a little break,
and then we go back in the evening, or sometimes we'll sleep in and we'll go and then we'll come back before but we usually go back to the resort almost every day as well to have that R&R.
Right.
Okay, so now for transportation. Now things may have changed, and so don't quote us on this, but this is something to actually look at just to kind of verify. But as far as getting to the ship, for us, when we do a Disney cruise, we want to be able to get on the ship as early as possible. So we do our check-in to make sure that we can get there in the morning so we can enjoy the entire ship and not just get there right when it sails away. And so we actually have done park days before the Disney cruise, and the time we did it, we didn't get to the ship till it was later the afternoon, I think 1:30 or something like that too. And we like to get there around 11. But this time we stayed at the Hyatt Regency in the Orlando airport, and we were able to get to the cruise very right when our check-in time, actually before our check-in time. It was right in the morning, super early. And so for us, we want to make sure we stay somewhere that's going to get us to the cruise as early as possible. So maybe just kind of look into that. Again, it could just be different resorts, but just call Disney and just make sure, because that could be a huge point of why you want to go after, not before.
Right. Our last point here before some juicy tips. So with this, we can enjoy every ounce of the trip because the fun is not over yet. And we have a little story to share with this point. We were actually on Serenity Bay.
Okay, yeah, picture this.
Yes.
Serenity Bay. Quiet.
Just the
no kids.
Absolute relaxation zone.
Especially for parents.
Yes.
Okay, because we don't get the quiet as often.
Yeah.
So when you turn the corner to Serenity Bay, it's just
So nice. We're on the sandy beach.
Yep. And so
sitting next to the waves.
Well, yeah, we took the chairs, brought it right down.
Yep.
Next to the ocean, so we had our feet in the ocean, and we were just like looking out and just like, oh man, you know what's crazy is we have our whole vacation in front of us. That's what it felt like because our cruise was only a few days.
Yeah,
we still had like 7 more days to go.
Right.
And we're just like, this feels good.
Yeah.
And then
just excitement. To what's to come. And then we overhear, a little nosy people, we overhear conversation, and a guy says to his wife, hey, honey, did you check in for our flight tomorrow?
Yeah.
And we were like, oh.
And it just brought us back.
So
It brought us back to times when we had to leave and go home.
Right.
And then we had like the vacation blues on Serenity Bay.
Yeah.
And we've had the vacation blues on a Disney cruise.
Yeah.
And then when we got back from Castaway Cay and went back into our room and we were packing up for the evening, did we have vacation blues? No, we didn't, you know, because we knew that our vacation was continuing.
Right.
And so for that whole time, we weren't worrying about travel day. We weren't worrying about what we need to separate our carry-on versus, you know, we didn't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff. And so we packed our stuff up, all happy and whatnot. We even did a little bit of laundry because we didn't really care. And we enjoyed our night without having any, like, feeling.
And we're going to the airport tomorrow.
I hate that feeling.
Yeah.
And I get you're going to have that feeling.
Totally.
No matter what.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it just hits different on a Disney cruise, doesn't it?
Yeah. Because in that last night when you're doing the, you know, little end of the night parties and your last, you know, meal, it was just, we just still felt in the moment, not thinking about we're leaving tomorrow.
And I think if you're in Walt Disney World, what we've experienced is we did all the parks, we did most of it, and we chose. Like, you know, let's just go back and just hang out the rest of the evening at the resort. And we were ready, but for some reason on the Disney cruise, I always have this like, feeling. But this trip, we didn't have it.
Yeah.
You know?
So that was really cool. And you just got to stay almost in that Disney bubble, going from the ship in the Disney transportation and then right to our resort. So that was cool.
Okay, so now for our juicy tips. Just a couple of them. But one thing is when we got back from our Disney cruise and our Walt Disney World vacation, we didn't gain any weight. Now we did, for sure, I guarantee it. But when we got back, I weighed myself and I was pretty much the same. I didn't like lose any weight, but I was pretty much the same. And the reason why is when you go to the parks, you have all this opportunity to walk it off.
You do a lot of walking.
Yeah. And so it's like in a way you're doing cardio in a fun place.
Right.
And so you don't come back with like the Disney blues as well as your waistline have being an issue. You know what I mean? Like you're
let's be real. Like in the cruise, we eat a lot.
A lot. And you don't really move. And you still eat, you know,
not so healthy
Walt Disney World, but you're walking a ton. Like we were looking at like our watch and there was times we're walking like 8, 9 miles, 10 miles a day. But you don't really feel it because it's like, it's fun.
You're in Disney World.
So just think about that. You can get all of the Disney cruise weight off of you before you get home.
Maybe not all.
Yeah.
So next up, we like to share with people, do not go to the parks the day you get off the ship. So I think that is probably why some people don't. They feel stressed like, okay, I got to get off the ship and the parks are already open and I got to get there at rope drop, and we don't like to do that. So we like to do the parks after, but we don't make that a day in the parks. We make that a day in our resort. There's so many things you can do. And if you get there early, which most likely you will because you get off the ship early and your room's not ready, they can hold your luggage for you at guest services, which is awesome. So then you're free to just explore the resort, go shopping. They always have great gift shops and just cool things, different places to eat. You can also go to the pools too, so check out the pools. So there's so much to do already. You can also make that a day where you go to Disney Springs. So there's a lot of different options you can do besides the park. So we like to just hold that off a bit so we don't just feel like, you know, we're missing out when we get off the ship. So we can just get the lay of the land of our resort a little bit, get things settled in, and we
get our souvenir mugs.
Yeah,
like,
right.
You know,
and I feel like we always get into our room earlier than expected, which is always so nice. And then you can unpack, get everything ready and set, so you're ready for the parks the next day.
That pretty much wraps it up. Now, again, this is just our opinion of why we prefer doing the parks afterwards. And there's things that can change. We were only on the Disney cruise for a few days. We'll actually link all those videos below as well as our vlogs for Walt Disney World. But if we were on a longer cruise, you know, we may not have we may do something different. We don't know. Again, every trip is going to be different, but these are the answers to your questions. Also, we want to use this video as like a forum. So if you prefer to go to the parks before or after, let us know the reasons why below. Maybe you want to do like a split. Talk about that. If you've done a split.
I want to know, people that have done that, your experiences, because we heard somebody where they stayed at one resort before, and they went on the cruise, and then they did another one afterwards. So let us know if you've done that, because that's something we're interested in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, as always, thank you so much for hanging out with us and watching this video. If you have not subscribed, please consider doing that and also ring the bell. We have a lot more videos like this to come. And if you're new, welcome. We do a lot of Disney stuff, obviously, travel and also lifestyle vlogs. So if you're into any of that kind of stuff, come along with us. Anyway, we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.